I am so excited to be here, especially when I'm here with Kelly. And I've been here pretty much every Thursday for over a year,
I
and
know.
only great things have come from it. New
Mm.
relationships, new opportunities, new personas. I mean, it is such a cool thing. It's like driving into a car wash and you come out sparkling. So, with that said, chat's open. Today's show, just like all shows recently, are about LinkedIn strategy and live stream strategy. I'm such a big believer. I know Kelly and Harvey and Beverly are too because of what they're experiencing and what they're
Mhm.
now starting to see is just beginnings to some wonderful opportunities. So,
Yeah.
Kelly, so happy to have you here. Why don't you little reintroduce yourself and share your thoughts of live streaming and what it can do and what you've seen that surprised you?
Yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Yeah, so many great things from live streaming. I mean, that's how we became friends. I mean, truthfully, and so many people. And little side note plug, and Don has no idea I'm going to say this, but at 10 o'clock, Don's grandson is going to be on Zoom. So be sure to tune in on that. Omar sent me the link this morning privately, so I didn't miss it, which is great. Thank you, Omar. Um, yeah, and here that's a perfect example of live streaming. All of these people that we end up meeting by doing live streaming, you have a deeper connection, bar none. I mean, there's no denying the fact of your connection with people that you meet with on live streaming and have meetings with, but Zoom meetings, not email strings, none of those things. There's Omar. Hi. Um, yes, we just talked about you. So your ears must have been burning. And but it creates such a quick path to relationship. And ironically, I've been talking to so many people lately, and that continuously comes up is about relationship. Just yesterday, I was talking to someone who is going to be reintroducing himself on LinkedIn for the first time um, in a very long time, hence the reintroduction. But he wasn't. He's like, I'm not really sure what to do, and I said, oh, we need to let's plan a meeting to talk about that. Um, because it's different on LinkedIn. If you've been gone for a few years or if you've never done it, it's different. Or if you're looking for, if you're a job seeker, I mean, there's so many things. What is in your strategy to get those meaningful connections? Um, and the gentleman I was referring to that I talked to yesterday, he said, all I know that I don't want to do is I know I don't want to do those email automations that I get in my inbox on LinkedIn all the time. And he goes, I was
Mhm.
shocked at how many I get. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. I talk about that all the time about stopping the pitch slap. And I said, it's so ineffective. And people will say, hey, we do get some leads from that. Okay, I'll give you that. But how many doors are you closing? Opportunity doors are closing. You're not leaving them sort of open for a later date. You're closing them because you're turning people off. It's off-putting when you try to sell me right out of the gate and you don't even know what I do, or you have no idea what my business strategy is. So to tell me out of the gate how you're going to fix my problems when you don't even know if I have them, it just it doesn't work. It's ineffective. So stop it. So we are going to be talking about possibly doing a LinkedIn, obviously live stream strategy for him to be more effective, to gain those deeper connections quicker, because that is what happens, period. You do a live stream with someone, and as many other shows that I've done as well, you become friends with these people pretty quickly. And it's very easy to reach out. I love seeing in my inbox things that I don't expect. Hey, Kelly and Bob, I just thought of you too and think you need to connect. I'm getting a lot more of those in my inbox instead of all the pitch slaps, which is very lovely, and it's all because of live streaming. So I think what we get back that we can't really calculate as an ROI necessarily. What it does overall, just you create deeper connections quicker because you get to know people better. And I just think those connections, those genuine connections that people are making, I do the same thing. If I have a meeting with someone and I'm like, "Ooh, I need to introduce you to this, and this," um, like that's where power is also, is what happens behind the scenes, not just in front of the camera. So I think that those are important little tidbits to throw out there to start with this morning.
I think they're more little, but I always learn so much from Kelly, and Kelly learns so much from what Kelly does every week with who she does. So
Yeah.
everybody comes back a little bit better person by the tidbits and the new ideas or sayings that someone shared with them, and you said, "Hey, that was pretty neat," or "I know I could use that when I'm describing this." And the other thing is, you don't know the benefits if you don't know the opportunities, right? Most people, until they can see what's there, connecting changes. It's being the connector, right? And being part of someone else's connector network. So again, it's more boutique-ish where there's less people playing, but they're playing at a higher level. They're playing at a more coordinated, cooperative, collective level, which is always better than the competitive, and
Yes.
the illicit stuff that has to take place for someone to cross the bridge. And there's something to kind of being aligned with your belief system, and if you're with people who believe in you and you believe in them, but what's so cool is, you're lucky, and I was sharing this, I believe, um, probably with Harvey and on the show. And I said, if you look at where the evolution of LinkedIn is, first you got to be a member. So that's,
Mhm.
first thing you got to walk through the door. The most basic thing is to like something. The next thing is to comment on something. And then maybe you mature into posting on something.
Mhm.
And then you support other people posting and commenting. But that's like still not very mature. And what the hope is, you get a conversation with someone and you get a Zoom call. So that's the next step up. Well, you have the Zoom call under the best circumstances. You get to know someone, say, wow, that's pretty cool. I like what you're doing. I like you. And they say the same thing, but there's really nothing we can do together right now based on what you're doing or how you're doing it or where I'm at in life. And you say, well, if I know somebody, I'll send them your way. Or if things change, let's keep in touch.
Yeah.
Well, now you skip the like, I'm having a call that's going to probably lead nowhere. I mean, it might build some top of mind awareness to, hey, I got a show. Let's jump on a show and let's share who you are.
Mhm.
Right now, it's all about them. Now it's not you're asking for something, but you're providing something. And here's where it really gets very good is you get to work with somebody for an hour, right, in front of people and see what the chemistry is, see what the generosity is. I'm still complimenting Ford because of how thoughtful he was to Khan. Ford has 7 books, and Khan's introducing his second one. And almost every opportunity, Ford would say, "Let's get back to Khan's book and let's everybody know here's this and that." And
Mhm. Yeah.
it's because people understand you do better for yourself when you do better for others in front of a bunch of others, right?
Mhm.
So if by being supportive and service oriented and complimentary, they're thinking, hey, that's going to happen if I connect with that person,
Mhm.
right? And that's a deeper way of getting to know people. And then over time, the lookers from the workers start to separate because you can only keep a lie going for so long in front of so many people, in front of people who are doing this every day, and they separate, or the ones that don't have commitment. By default, if all you can try to be is who you are and do it in the most humble, thoughtful way possible to deliver it. So no
Mm.
one gets offended, everybody feels comfortable. And the big word that's always circulating is safety. When
Yeah.
people feel safe, when
Mhm.
people feel among like minded people, and they see other people are sharing things that are probably just as significant as theirs, it opens them up and now allows people. But let's hit the audience real quick. Omar's here again, made a friend out of me for bringing my grandson on. And actually, me and Ann sat in on the whole show.
That's awesome.
So we're on the screen as much as Omar, I believe, but we didn't give any special tips or nothing. I kept it on up and up. Carrie's here. Haven't seen Carrie in a while. Hello,
Hey.
great to see you, Carrie. Hope all's well. We'll have to tell one of Carrie's jokes. I had a jam on toast pun. I had to watch out not to spread it too far. But we should keep it G-rated, and that's important. Dennis says, yeah, I finally got LinkedIn today to be here to listen to what I like to hear and learn from Got It Done, and we'll have learning fun. Well, you know, Dennis, I can speak for Kelly and myself and the rest of the cohorts here. You know, it's having you come and share your thoughts, your rhymes, that makes it a community. And I think that's so important is when people say, what's the difference? Well, there's a difference between an audience and a community. And there's another difference between a community and a family.
Mm-hmm.
And then people prove to be worth having as family members. People justify who they are. And it's like, hey, you know, whether it's Charles Caldwell or, you know, Christine Feedy or all these people, Leslie, I mean, there's so many great people that now are coming together that's making a group that isn't coordinated in any sticky way want to come together. And that's the community you want to build, not one that's forced or has a, you know, a protocol, but one that's inclusive, brings in some great people. Oh, Carrie likes my blue. Carrie's on fire today. And he also knows Omar, and Omar has been a big help to so many other people. And the more I got to know Omar, the more of Omar I got to know, which is to say people have so much more depth if you give yourself a chance to, you know, hear and allow people to share.
Yeah.
And it's, wow, that makes you even more interesting than you were before. So, Kelly, back to you. It looks like, I guess what we're doing is giving more voice to people who deserve a bigger platform, a stronger microphone, and a group that is really out there doing whatever they can to give them that extra step up. Isn't this fantastic what we initiated and just kind of stumbled along and found little nuggets along the way?
Yes, so true. And I do want to, Omar, if you're still on, do put the link into Zoom party for today, so people have the link convenient to go watch it. Because it will be not just because Don's grandson is on it, but that is a little extra bonus. But the kids version, y'all, is just so sweet. So do share the link in the comments so others can get to it quickly and efficiently, or go to his profile if you're about to jump off for whatever reason. Yeah, so many things that you said that obviously are so great. And yes, today is I'm just looking at the comments too. Omar mentioned you know, today is February 29th. Not very many, you know, once every 4 years we get the 29th, and says how many, quiz question, because of course he has to ask one, how many days are in a leap year? Well, we're adding one extra, so I'm going 366. Just I don't think it's a trick question. So yeah, kind of exciting. It's, I guess, a little good that it's a longer year this year, because I don't know about you, but already this year is going by way too fast. I mean, I can't believe it's already Thursday. But I kind of want to go back a little bit to reiterate to people, um, because good example of the gentleman I was talking to yesterday who hasn't been using, you know, leveraging LinkedIn. He's been on it, but he's not on it. And it can feel overwhelming. Yay, I was correct. Thank you, Omar. I feel like I won a prize. Um, is don't get overwhelmed. Yes, there's tons of things that you can do and different things that you can improve, but you've got to start small, you know, in doable chunks. You know, starting by commenting on people's content that you like. And maybe if you're not sure what to comment, just at least engage with it, like it. Um, that's a start, and start following people that you enjoy their content or have commonality, or like, hey, this is the kind of client I'm looking for. um, and then look at who they're connected to. We talk about that a lot for lives, looking at other events and seeing who's attended those events that you enjoy, and see who's attending, because likely those people would enjoy your event, whatever it is. Um, but start small in doable pieces, and I think that applies to anything in business, right? If Don would have been told, well over a year ago, hey, we want you to do 750 consecutive live stream shows, the answer probably would have been like, "Oh, heck no. Like, I'm not doing that." Because it feels overwhelming. That seems like a massive commitment, and I'm not sure that I can accomplish that. That just seems like too much. But when you were just doing it a day at a time and allowing yourself just to do it a day at a time, it wasn't about the number overall. It was just about doing it a day at a time, and facing your day one day at a time. Which is what we should all do. So it's the same thing with your overall LinkedIn strategy. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Do little baby steps. Talk to people who have done it. Figure out a strategy that works best for you. Because maybe your starting strategy is, hey, you just need to go interact with content, engage, start making posts, increase your cadence of your posts, start commenting. Um, start commenting on posts that do associate with what you're trying to do. What is your goal? But you've got to start somewhere. Start the conversation, and don't be afraid of what people think of you. Because you're not for everybody, nor are we. There's a billion people here to choose from. You don't need all of them to like you, or to be concerned of what they think of you. The right people will naturally come to you just by you being you. Because I do think that's a beginning phase strategy that people do struggle with as well. Is, well, I'm no, Russell Bronson, or I'm no Gary V. Um, don't be them. They're already taken. Be you. And quite frankly, I mean, a couple of those the big heavy hitters, I'm not a huge fan of. I'll like their content, but I don't really like their style, and that's just because that's my preference. So samey, I might love your style, even though you're doing the exact same thing. I don't care that they've got hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. I still don't really like their stuff. I mean, or I like their content, I just don't really care for them, and that's okay. Because like Don said, there is no competition. The only competition is what we create, right? Upstairs. Um, but baby steps, and knowing that small steps in the right direction are all that matters. You don't have to take it all on at one time. Like, that's just silly. um, and I think, just to end on this time around, is also don't be afraid to start something. The longer that you sit on the sidelines, afraid of, like, "Ooh, I don't know," you're gonna be surprised. And I think that is so true about lives specifically. Um, I haven't met one person, and I do think this is an actual true statement. I don't believe I've been on with anyone or had anyone come on that at the end was like, "Man, I regret doing that." I think every single person has been like, "Oh my gosh, that was so much more fun," or so energizing and so uplifting. It was so much better than what I expected, because our fears of anything, regardless if it's alive or something we've never done before, our fears create um, stuff that's not reality. I mean, it's never what we think it's going to be, because our fear always takes us to a darker place. Um, and LinkedIn too. And I'm hearing more and more people say this of late, which is interesting. That LinkedIn is their platform of choice. They're like, "Oh, I don't do anything on Facebook
Mhm.
or Instagram." Or are more like me. I just do the other platforms really because it's part of work that I do, so I need to do it. But it's not my preference. LinkedIn is my preference. LinkedIn feels more like a safe community. And that's what I think everybody is looking for. I want a safe place where I feel supported so I can grow and improve, as opposed to other platforms that I do feel like when you go there, you're at risk of the trolls. And that is what I personally was afraid of, coming to my first live, is, "Oh, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to handle people picking me apart." Like, I think it will, I think it will upset me. That doesn't happen here. It truly is. People are like, "What can I do to help you?" And again, saying I see things in my inbox and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't talked to this person in months." But they're like, "Hey, I just had this meeting with this person and you two need to know each other." Um, th those are great things. People are supporting because you're not in competition with a billion people. And surround yourself with a community of people that want you to be the best version of yourself. And that's what I think it is all about at its core. And thank you, Omar, for sharing the link. So
Yeah,
everyone, the link on
I'll
the
share the link and also want to. So there's the link to the party. Here you
Yay!
go. See, Omar, great time to be here today. And,
Yes.
Kelly makes so many strong, valuable points. And the key, or one of the keys, and that's the beauty, because there are so many keys. We talk about a person who got great at polling would separate themselves. Somebody who did great at newsletters would
Hmm.
separate themselves. But the people who do live streaming, and it's so fascinating because I get feedback all the time. And I
Hmm.
had a person said that I'm not very good at social media, as an answer to, would you like to be on a show? And I
That's
said, well, this isn't social media, this is conversation,
yeah.
right? And when you come here, that's all we're going to do is have a quality conversation. And everybody can do that, or everybody sometimes enjoys it. If you can't have a conversation, well, that's a whole new matter. And
Hmm.
the other thing is, everybody is so close because here's what everybody does have. They're a member of LinkedIn. They have done something or are doing something just by showing up in the audience today. And you're one Zoom call away from being on the show. It's
Hmm.
not a big leap. And I'm not saying everybody should be on a show, but if you feel this could be an answer,
Yeah.
and what's so wonderful now is there's so many shows you can be on. So Kelly has the Awesome Journey with Christy on Tuesdays at
Mhm.
1 p.m. Harvey has the franchise show that follows this on Tuesday. And Carl has the instant funding show that precedes this on Tuesday. So you've got 4 straight Tuesdays and 4 different types of shows, 4 different hosts, and 4 different crowds. And you could decide which crowd or multiple crowds do you want to be exposed to. But you know how many wonderful connections you could have if you
Oh,
just looked, and you could just look at Kelly or Christie's or Harvey's profile. You could
yeah.
catch every commenter on every show within 30, 40 minutes, right? Because you'll see duplications, you'll see people that just are not in your target group. And you can go to the other 4 shows. Beverly has a show. Actually, Beverly
Yes,
and
Beverly's
Christy.
is today, and Christy is on her show today. So
Yeah.
there's another one y'all need to catch. I know she's not
Yeah.
here, I'd say drop the link. But I'll message. I know Beverly's posted it,
Yeah.
but
And
Christy,
feel free to put that in. So following this, you can check
yeah.
that out, or you could check out Omar's show. So you got many choices now.
And you can
And
always watch the replays of both of them. So
yeah, why not watch both, whatever you're in the mood, or hey, switch between back and forth because you can also see both of them later. So, it's nice to have more options.
Mhm.
And I think that, everything is up to you now because we've been pathfinders. We've opened roads and seen what's there and developed it. And we're looking to bring people with us. And the easiest thing, I thought, by nature taking its course, and 20 plus people who have never been on a show have their own show, and they're no different, better, worse than anybody else, except what they did do is they had a commitment to work at it, to continue at it, to be consistent. This is an art married to a science. You need to work on presentation, projection,
Yeah.
packaging, guest choices. And me and Kelly and Harvey are coming together, pooling our experiences, and not only experiences, but continuous learning experiences every week to create a program that you can get into in 8 weeks, graduate, have your own show, and then have continuous support, a built-in audience that follows you. And, it's funny, all you need is 6 or 7 quality people to make a great show. And since everybody's in a group, Carl shows up, Kelly shows up, Harvey shows up, you already have the 6 or 7, and you also have the reach of their influence
Mhm.
and the ability to be on everybody's show if you're deserving. Because I always ask people, this is definitely not a pay for play where someone just pays money and ends up here. It's really about, why do you want a show? And is that what we can help you with? Right? And if you don't have a why, then that's what you need to work on
Yeah.
first so we can help you. It's like ordering an Uber and they say, where do you want to go? So I don't know. Where do you think I should go? You're probably going to stay right where you're at that point.
That
But
sounds like it should be a show, actually. I would watch that.
well, there could be so many shows, because another thing, just like Beverly has her show, Women's Empowerment Over 50, right? Carl has Instant Funding. Had a wonderful show with Dave Snell and Jason
Yes.
Spargo, and that was about military transition.
Yeah.
So whatever you are is your show and should be, because people want to know who you are before they want to know what you can do for them, right? What kind of person are you? Are you somebody easy to be with? And, this gives you that ability over someone that looks traditionally at a profile and says 7 awards, 20 of this. You know what that is? History. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean history is going to repeat itself. And it actually says you should have caught them early on when they were into what you're doing. And now,
Well, and
again,
don't you think too, though, that the whole part of that's such a great point. Reading someone on their profile, which is important, don't get me wrong. I think your profile definitely needs to be optimized. And if you don't know how to do that, hey, Christy, another shout out for you, girl. She'll do a free review of your LinkedIn profile. Um, but I'm interpreting it just based on the content that's there. So you're an award winning, you've done all these things, that's great. But then if I meet you and I get to know you and I'm like, I'm just, for whatever reason, this is just not feeling right for me for whatever reason. Because that happens. This, you can have all the awards in the world, but you can be the most miserable person to work with. Um, and I think live streaming is another way too to cut to the chase, again, to your audience, because they're seeing you. Um, and no matter what people want to say, oh, I just need to improve my pitch, or if the marketing department would improve the pitch, I would get more sales. And it's like, no, you wouldn't, because people aren't buying your widget, they're buying you. It has nothing to do with the thing. And what better way for people to see who you are isn't just by reading words, because reading words is all about who the reader is. Their perception has nothing to do with your intent. You can have the greatest intent thinking, oh, this feels so good, of what I wrote, but I could perceive it totally different because there's so many variables that are involved, right? I could have been just stuck in an accident and I'm running late and I'm reading something. So how I'm perceiving it in the moment because of my emotion is different than if I was like, I just got done with yoga and I'm super chill and feeling super peace. I'm interpreting your content different. But when I see you regularly, if I go to your profile and you have featured live videos that you've done, and I'm not saying that, and we do say this all the time as well, produced videos have a place, 100%. I love produced videos. But there is something different about doing a live with people that allows you to see truly them. And if I can see you and I like what I'm seeing, there's a whole different perception that's involved now. Because when I see your content in my stream, I'm perceiving it different because I can actually hear you saying it. You know what I mean? I think we all have that when we have seen someone enough. And it is a way to draw business, because people will see and be like, man, I want to work with a person like that. Like, I love what they're doing. I love their content. And wow, they seem like they know what they're talking about, and they seem like somebody that aligns with me. Um, so I don't know. I think it cuts through so much of the BS of the content. Um, and to wrap this round with the gentleman I was speaking to yesterday. is thankfully when he did say, all I know that I don't want to do on LinkedIn is do those automation emails that are AI generated. And it's very obvious that too many of you are using the same darn thing and you need to stop because it's ineffective. Is also remembering that you can generate some great content through AI. I'm not saying you can't. I think it's a good tool. I don't think you should put in something and just copy and paste it. You still need to edit it to fit your brand, your personality, because your page or your LinkedIn presence is your brand because it's you. And if your content reads totally different than how you speak, it confuses people, and then that also makes them retract. Um, so I think to wrap up the point there and toss it back over to you, Don, is there are great things that can help give you shortcuts, but you still have to be you, period. And that is what a live stream, I will say, forces you to do. Because even if you're someone who was in corporate America, like as long as I was, you have to adjust a bit because corporate America, especially in what I did with capital markets, I had to have every I dotted and T crossed perfectly before we went to market because compliance and legal was involved. Um, Live isn't perfect, and there's nothing wrong with that. I find it, and maybe I'm saying this for myself because I lose train of thought sometimes totally mid sentence, and I'm like, forgot where I was going with that. But I feel like when we see someone be human, it's much more endearing and we relate to that. We don't really like to see perfection, or what we interpret as perfection because it makes us feel insecure. So when we see someone just being human and, oh gosh, I can't remember who's the guest next tomorrow. Hold on a second. I'm going to have to look that up. You don't go, God, what an idiot. We are usually like, ah, that makes me feel better because they're human too. So it humanizes your personal brand, your product, service, what have you. And I don't know. I think that's an important factor. What are your thoughts?
I think it's very important. And, we're all here for sharing and learning.
Hmm.
And how you share has a lot to do with how people learn and how people appreciate you. You give a real life example. I do this every day, and sometimes you take things for granted. And for so long, I was doing restreams without making them events, right? So when they would go live, LinkedIn would say, I'm live, and then you'd get an audience. The other way, you're really exposing yourself as an event, and LinkedIn is promoting you, and people are signing up. Well, I went live on an event, but never went as far as the event page. Without getting into too much detail, when you go to studio, you could go live right there, or you could move to the next page, which is your event. So I went live on the live right there, and my co-host and everybody else had the link to the next page. So it took me about a minute and a half to realize what I had done. But when I was proud of myself, I just calmly said to everybody in the audience, I'm going to shut this down. And all you got to do is come back to LinkedIn because it'll show up on my profile. And then I caught up with that. And it was kind of funny, not that I'd ever want to repeat it, but just that, as I was sharing, it was like, hey, we're together here. It's
Hmm.
not like I'm up here, you're down there, and I'm embarrassed and don't think this is
Oh
me.
yeah.
And someone told me, I think it was Mary Gardner, who was another fabulous guest, and it's amazing
Yes.
who you can run into. She says
Yeah.
a lot of times you can tell who the person is that you're talking to by how many I's that they use. I do this, I am this, I do this. And after a while, it becomes more about them than
Yes.
who they're talking with, because somehow they're trying to maybe compensate for an insecurity, something
Hmm.
they think people are seeing that they're not happy with, or being able to control things you have no control over, whether you talk Gary Vee or Simone Monet. I know I messed her name up. Um,
Shawnee.
Shawnee. What you have to realize is they created and softened the market for us. They're never going to go down to, let me connect with somebody, let me reach out and see who can I have on my show. They're way beyond that. but that also offers fertile ground for us. But here's what I will say that puts us a step ahead is we're dealing with the most relevant in the now opportunity links LinkedIn has with live streaming. And they're just have been fascinating with their ability to take the traditional stuff, right?
Mhm.
The pre-programmed events, the taped events, the whatever they did to create 1 million followers. And we can get so much more by just focusing on the strongest communication tool that has ever been developed on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And nobody knows about it because so many people aren't doing it. It has to be because awareness isn't there. When awareness is there, it's clouded by, oh, that's a job board, LinkedIn, or that's where people spam you, or that's where, it's a lot of nothing for a lot of work. Changes when someone says, hey, there's an easy, and Kelly always says this, there's so little expense, there's so little risk
Yeah.
involved relative to it. And wouldn't you like to get rid of some self-limiting beliefs? Wouldn't
Mhm.
you like to get rid of fears that were never really real, but in your mind you built them up like, I don't know how
Mhm.
I'm going to look? I mean, I can tell you, once people start talking, you forget about who they look like. And all you
100%.
hear is their words, their experiences, and whether you're old, whether you're just getting going, everybody has a charm about themselves, right? People want wise people, people want naive, innocent, ambitious people. Everybody's energy comes together and
Yeah.
you build on it versus take away from it. And I like diversity. I like compliment. I like a little contrast. I even like a little discussion as long as, it's quality discussion and
Mhm.
everybody respects each other because that's really the key to community. It's so hard to find one, get brought into one,
Mhm.
and then stay there. And the way you do is you keep doing whatever it was that got you there. Keep
Mhm.
supporting people, keep promoting people. When people are talking about sponsors, I sponsor everybody I work with, right? Because I believe in them. And it's not because of any other reason. I think it's a feather in my hat, in their hat, and whoever I'm recommending. I mean, without question, I could recommend Con or Carl or
Yes.
Harvey or any of these people, any people. And you know what I know they're going to get is a wonderful person. And that's
Mhm.
not easy to find. And that's where it goes beyond education. It goes beyond where you grew up or what you had to what can you do now with me to
Yeah.
help me want to help you
Mhm.
continue to help me, right? If you just make it easy blocks that you take one step and you do test people and you say, that's not fair what just happened, or when that person's late on their first call, and that's always challenging because they knew they were going to be late, right? They're going and what they're not courteous enough to say, hey, I'm running 10 minutes late. Well, that's good because now I got 10 minutes I can come back to you
Yeah.
versus sitting watching the Zoom thing go 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late. And at a certain point, people say, when do I stop waiting? The
Yeah.
time to stop waiting is when you feel if you have the call, you're not going to be very happy, right?
Uh,
So
yeah.
if 3 minutes and you said, I just can't take this call the way I am, or if it's 7 minutes, a lot of times I'll reach out and say, by the way, we've got the Zoom call at this time, just in case a lot of times the time
Yeah.
change gets to people or they
Well, and
forget.
that's such an important thing because I do notice this actually pretty often. I'll say it's a regular occurrence. I'm not going to say it's a huge percentage, but it's a regular occurrence. And I've certainly experienced it because there's certain calendars or certain apps that people use that don't sync properly with your calendar. Because I've had that happen. Oh my god, it's not on my calendar because we live and die by our calendar. Like, let's be honest. If it's not there, it doesn't exist. And especially when you plan something weeks in advance, sometimes because sometimes people don't have an opening for a couple of weeks. Um, And the other thing I've noticed of late, and I actually mentioned this to a gentleman last night, is on my calendar because it was planned or scheduled several weeks in advance, and the heading of the email or of the meeting was auto generated by their calendar. Um, and I honestly was like, "Oh, is this something I registered for to attend if I had time or to go back and watch the replay?" Well, he did send me a message earlier in the day and said, "Hey, just wanted to be sure we were still on for 4." And I do that a lot of times too with people, especially when they're brand new. I haven't had a conversation with them before. I'll send them an email, not an auto-generated one for myself, to be like,
Mhm.
"Hey, I just wanted to confirm that our call is still good for tomorrow at whatever, or today at whatever." So that if something did go awry, you can have it adjusted in your day calendar, or you have 24 hours to deal with it. But there's so many little factors. Your titling of your Calendly or whatever app that you're using for your calendar isn't clear to the end user when it does go on their calendar, because it should have your name in it, like in the first few couple words. My opinion, because if you're using your brand or your tagline in it, unleash the warrior within you, I'm not associating that to the person that I don't really know yet. You know what I mean? Later on, I'll know, oh, yeah, that's definitely Bob. Um, but in the beginning, you don't, unless you have the person's name in the front. So I think there's a lot of things. I mean, God, the calendars can be honestly a whole show.
Mhm.
But you're so right. When check with people, because it happens. And I had this happen actually on Monday with someone, and I was on the call with someone else waiting for, and it was an intro call for me doing with someone else. And I was messaging him while we were on the call saying, "Hey, just wanted to be sure you were still jumping on this call." And it was set through someone else's calendar, and he ended up like an hour later coming back going, "Oh my gosh, I have no excuse, 100% my fault. I didn't sync this to my calendar." And what did I think immediately? I'm like, "Been there, done that. Totally understand, man. Let's reschedule." Um, so I think there's a whole bunch of sides to that, right? Give grace to those who do. I love it when someone admits, like, and I've done
Mhm.
it. I've had to say, like, "Holy crap, I am so sorry. I 100% just missed this. Totally my fault. What can we do?" Um, but it's the people to me that schedule it, never show, and then never say anything. Like, that annoys
Mhm.
me. Like, what you just wasted my time, and it makes me go, "Was that really a bot?" Which I also think is why it's important to send a reminder, "Hey, just wanna be sure that we're good for this call." Um, yeah, so sorry to go down the
No,
calendar.
no, you make some good points because they're the same points that I and a lot of other people deal with.
Yeah,
Is, when you give an open calendar for people to set up a free Zoom call, I always check the person against LinkedIn.
yeah.
And some people don't have a profile. And some
Oh, yeah.
people's
You don't, I don't.
email is really kind of weird. And I'll just cancel that
Mhm.
appointment and see if they say what happened or whatever. And the other aspect of it, you're right. If there's no contrition, there's no support for another call. I've had people say, "Oh, whatever." It's like I'll always say, "Sorry for any confusion." I just leave it at that
Yeah.
because who knows? And I don't need to get into. I rearranged my morning so I could have this call with you, and now
Mhm.
you did this to me where it was just a missed call, but it was something I had planned for, anticipated, thought of that could have been spent in a better way. And again, that's where you say, well, that shows you who this person is and how they operate. And if they don't take responsibility, if they don't show some remorse or contrition or, can you give me one more chance? It'll never happen or whatever. I'm okay. I'll always remember, hey, this is the foundation of how we got started. If this was
Yeah.
just a once in a lifetime thing and it's not the end of the world, but it does say, since I'm looking for long term collaborative relationships, that everybody should think enough about the other person to be anticipating it. You know,
Mhm.
I know with certain shows, I have people that are every other day, when am I going to get my link? When am I, I'm interested in this. I'm posting about it. I know that person is committed and excited when someone says, oh, I've seen people just roll into a show, not know where they are, who they're with, or why they're there. And they
Yeah,
just feel just as confident as ever just to do their own thing. And that tells you. So, in essence, this is an audition every show for everybody in front of an audience, in front of another person they're working with, and to really learn from it, to learn how to be a better performer. And it is performance art. It is how happy are you looking? How energetic are you? Shanae, or whatever her name is, she said, when you start a show, you got to be as excited as authentically you can be, right? Jumping up and not being that person isn't going to help you because
that's
the
right.
audience will pick up to think if you're not happy being here and you don't care, why should we?
That's
Right?
right.
If you're just running through motions, then hey, you're not doing anybody a favor. And I think the ability to be open to hearing what people have to say makes a difference. And I think the other criteria is being teachable. If someone knows it all, has it all figured out, or is too good for anybody else to be around, right? They should be
Mhm.
on their own. But let me get back to Dennis because he wrote an ebook here. Agree newsletters much better than snooze letters. Agree current pathfinders
Oh,
are
news
much more
letter too.
important than past finders. Came back with agreed on, you got in and are still well linked in. You know, this had to be at least so many pivots along the way.
Mhm.
And it was really getting to know yourself, getting to get better, and then learning what won't get you to where you are, And it's so easy to really enjoy the person you're talking to and what they're saying. And I got to give credit to people like Jenny Maxwell and Tara Gooch and Gretchen Skelka and Sarah on Sundays, Dawkins, because they were so incredible in what they were doing, why they were doing it, how they were doing it. But eventually, someone has to say, are you looking to go to the next step
Mhm.
up? Are you looking to expand? And that's where individuals like Carl, Con, Dave start showing up. And I think you want to run at the highest pace you can, but more importantly, run with people who run hard, who run fast,
Mhm.
and who want to help each other. Dave always talks about his marathon experiences and how
Yes.
people helped him complete a race or be in a race, even at the
Mhm.
expense of their time or their
Yeah.
position, right? And then that shows you the reason for running as a group, not to compete. Some of those most heartfelt moments is people are sprinting and somebody falls and can't get up, right? And that
Yeah.
person who was on their way to win the race decides to go back and put that person around their shoulder and walk them to the finish line. And what kind of a hero is that?
Mhm. The best.
Because it's rare, right? Most people finish and then come back. Dennis comes back. Agree calendars are strong and not just weak or wrong. I like the weak part. You could have put a
Yeah,
day
yeah.
and you got the whole trifecta. Agree. Make good points when you can. Don't miss appointments being pointless. It
Mm.
just shows you that some people aren't aware. Some people are just always late, and that's just the way they are.
Right, right.
I'm around some people who set their clock 10 minutes thinking that 10 minutes is going to give them something not to be late, and it always is. And what's so weird is you see people waiting to only leave 20 minutes before the dentist office, and afraid they'll be there 10 minutes early if they left 30 minutes earlier. But the 10 minutes you give yourself allows yourself to be in traffic and not push too hard or run up the stairs
Mhm.
or find a quick parking space. So I think slowing down in a lot of ways is just as important as speeding up, depending on the
Oh, for
situation
sure.
you're with. And you know
Mhm.
what I'm getting more is people are seeing this show and me is getting more and more relaxed because I am. Because I know one show by itself doesn't mean anything unless it's part of a whole lineup of shows.
Mhm.
And Harvey made me laugh the other day when, he was actually talking to me and Kelly one afternoon or night in his land, and he wasn't feeling great, and he was thinking about going to the franchise exposition, and he
Yeah.
was sick, right?
Mhm.
And he put a whole day in, and he was in his car during the whole thing, and I never knew until the next day that he went there. And what was so cool is he just went there as he always does, just as an attendee. He said within like 20, 30 minutes, 6 or 7 people said, "Hey, there's the franchise guy," because he was wearing his hat. And people had heard about the show and had seen him, but they didn't comment like Dennis or anybody else. They just were there. But it was kind of funny. And one more thing that he mentioned a year ago, he subscribed to the 1,000 most influential people, or maybe it was a little bit lower number in franchising. And that was just to see what it was and who it was. And then he had the person who created that uh, publication on his show, and then, starting to work with them on sponsorship. But what was even cooler, a week or two ago, the new edition came out and he was in it.
Mhm.
So he went from watching to participating to now being involved in it because of his show,
Mhm.
because of the show's reach and ability to say, I can get anybody on this show right now
Yeah.
who's into what I'm into because I've got so many other people. I mean, to give you a quick example, Greg Abbott. I was going back and forth this weekend, uh, and he loved being on the show with Kelly and Dave, and he's happy to come on again.
Greg Martin.
Greg Martin, I'm sorry, General Greg Martin. Um, and and I thought, hey,
Love.
him and Khan would be a great match. So he said, well, by the way, what would we talk about?
Mhm.
And I said, well, I got two subjects. One is book publishing and promotion, and the other one is transitioning from military life, which I knew was a natural.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, yeah, both would be great.
Mhm.
And I said, well, okay. And what I'll do when I find the match, I'll let you know. And now it's easier to work with people to say, who can I pair with someone? Who
Yeah.
can I introduce to someone?
Even to go on that, because just for those of you that don't know who he's talking about, who Don's talking about, Greg Martin is a retired major general of the Army, which is way the heck up there. um, and and he released an incredible book called Bipolar General. He was also on the Awesome Journey, sharing his incredible journey, and he was on here with Dave, which was also incredible. Um, and I would never have met him if it wasn't for live streaming, 100%. He's going to be here, not this weekend, but next weekend for a national veteran mental health event, which I didn't even know they had one here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm going to get to likely meet him in person while he's here. Um, and that never would have happened had it not been for live streaming. And I will say he's a great example of, oh my gosh, how is it that I'm talking to a major general? Not something I ever thought would happen. Not that I don't believe that you can't achieve anything that you put your mind to, but it also leads to fast friendships because, Greg, again, is a great example, and Dave Snell as well. We text each other every once in a while when Dave was away in England, we chatted a bit, because he was watching what he calls real football across the pond. Um, and it's just incredible how quickly, because when you meet people, you get an energy. Doesn't matter that you're on screen or not. You feel what the person is like on the other side of the screen, and you'll know very quickly. It's kind of like speed connecting. What speed dating used to be a thing. And then likely should come back because you don't need any more than 3 minutes really to know, is this a person I want to have a longer conversation with? And I think you do that by having Zoom calls and or doing live stream. You have connections that get deeper quicker, because there's none of the BS or fluff on the front end. Because when you're sharing your story, you're having to be vulnerable, and when you open up to somebody, there is a different type of connection instead of just saying like, "Oh, I'm gonna read them my mission statement or my sales pitch." Meh, flat and boring. And Harvey is here. Hi, Harvey and
Oh,
Minerva.
hey,
Um,
Harvey.
yeah,
A lot of people here. I'm getting behind. So thank you. That was perfect. The other thing I'll say for what Kelly said is a general, Greg Martin is such an easy guy to know, but now me and Kelly know him at a peer level
yeah,
versus like, I'm a fan of yours. I read your book. Can you sign my book?
yeah,
To looking at us as, hey, these can be important people in my pursuit. And naturally, he wrote a book to get his voice out there. He
yeah.
wants the most relevant, aligned audience as he can.
Mhm.
Anyways, Dr. Rao is here. Dr. Rao does a lot of his own live streaming. Welcome. Minerva's here from Canada. So happy to have you. Minerva's just a wonderful individual. Harvey says, my favorite people. Couldn't agree more, Harvey. Always great to see you and always great to support you. And you'll never go wrong with Harvey or Kelly or Minerva or any of these people. They're time tested. Be relevant in your presence to obligations. Here's a user. Hello, all. Have clients on Thursday, so I snuck in. Jason, just another beautiful person, somebody you have to meet, and is always typically on with Dave every other Wednesday,
So
sharing
good.
the veterans element. Diverse perspectives opens doors for showcasing goals. Doing a great service of humanity. Thank you so much. That makes me want to do it even more every day. If there's one person, me and Kelly say that we can help make their life better, change it for the better, we've done our job and more than we thought we could. Love this, Kelly. Upcoming very important connections. For today, what I will do is make an exception to cut off early so everybody has a couple minutes to run off to either Zoom party or to Beverly show with Christy. And if you want, crisscross them whenever you feel like it, or watch them both at your leisure. Kelly, last words, and then we can both be on to even more beyond.
I know, more connections that we wouldn't have if it wasn't for live streaming. I mean, so a perfect way to end up. Live stream does bring great connections, and just remember that because I think being purposeful about who you connect with and why is important. And live streaming can be part of that strategy. And if you're not sure how to do it, that's what we're here for. Reach out, send us a message. And I haven't done this in a while because it kind of doesn't go with the strategy on an occasion, but do go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too.
Thank you, because I missed that. That was always a great ending. If you want to learn more, go to Don Cohen Consulting. I've got 2 programs that get you on a fast track. So thank you. Come back tomorrow if you can. B2B LinkedIn strategy with Con, and we'll talk soon.